The month of September, BTCI from Neos Funds paid me $536, a $536 distribution from holding a Bitcoin covered call fund that is long the Bitcoin ETFs and then derives income from selling covered calls. Just recently, BlackRock announced that they are now launching a Bitcoin income fund with this exact same strategy. Misty from YieldMax is an example of a large popular one of these covered call ETFs based on MSTR. Bitcoin is more volatile as we all know, people on the internet that have been investing in it for a lot of years. It's more volatile than any stock, which means options prices are higher. To borrow the stock in order to go long or short costs more because of the volatility, but the risk and reward, like the gain is there for people who are trading. You, as a non-trader, I mostly talk to non-traders. So my name's Brian Harrington. I've been invested in Bitcoin since 2015. My wife and I have together been invested in Bitcoin since 2015. We both work in the cryptocurrency industry, have worked for multiple companies. We also own 2 rental properties, and so from a like traditional wealth building perspective, we understand how the traditional mortgage and traditional rental property ladder, like that kind of wealth accumulation works. And in the new economy, we understand, the differences between Bitcoin and all of the crypto and how to parse all of that. And now this Bitcoin income fund thing, this Bitcoin income fund trend is taking off and is is not going to look back. It's not going to look back. It's going to be a really big thing. I'm not the first person to say this, but what has happened in the last September of 2025 is I personally bought a covered call ETF for the first time. So this also isn't a new idea. I pre-ETF, I was holding Bitcoin mining stocks and practicing learning how to sell covered calls on them. But now what has happened is that ETFs that do it for you have come out and you pay them a small expense ratio and they do it for you. And the great thing is that you still own the shares. So they pay the distributions, but you still I still have my 400 shares of BTCI. And then I got paid the $1.34 or whatever per share as the distribution in the month of September. But now moving into October, I still have those 400 shares. So those can still benefit from the increasing price of Bitcoin, selling away a little bit of the upside to create income. People from the traditional FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, and people from the traditional dividend investing movement, I mean, they've been all over this for years. And I was talking to a friend yesterday on the phone about this, that I love personal finance. This is genuinely a rabbit hole. Like the dividend income fund stuff is genuinely a rabbit hole that I'm just at the top of it. I've only scratched the surface, like personally, I've only scratched the top of that. And I think it's because for the last 10 years, I'm philosophically motivated by the concept of Bitcoin replacing fiat money. That I went to work for companies that were actively working on that. I led meetups. We led the most attended Bitcoin meetup on the West Coast, if not the country, during COVID in Anaheim, California. And we would get 50, 60 people a week every Thursday to come out in person and talk about Bitcoin. And so I'm philosophically and just I guess a activism wise, like Bitcoin replacing fiat money is something I've been professionally working on for years. Only recently, as I've been getting older, kids are getting older, like personal finances are more complicated than they were back in the day. And the whole income and lifestyle design, early retirement, these kind of words are starting to pop into my head in more of a very real way. Because when you're young, you always have you have a little bit of that oh yeah, retiring early, that'll be so awesome. But then you still, I think a lot of people still have this thing too of but the traditional view of retirement isn't, that's not super in my head. I don't think, I don't see a world where I'm not doing some sort of consulting, like talking to people. Like I'm not going to stop talking to people, and opportunities naturally arrive from talking to people. And so that's never going to go away. And kind of like I think just understand I think the concept that like working hard is not the way to like create maximum leverage for yourself is more and more out there. And especially in Bitcoin, especially in crypto, people that have like you made the right decision. You've been invested in Bitcoin, you've been invested in crypto for years now. You made the right decision. Or if you're starting right now, you're making the right decision. You're objectively like on the right side of like this money printing fiat debasement thing. And there's no it's the trend is not going to turn around. Like the prices of homes are not going to come down. The prices of stocks and assets and uh, commodities is not going to come down. Everything measured in dollars is going to continue to increase. Period. And so when you have that much dialed in confidence about that, that then is backed up by years of it like actually increasing your net worth, um, yeah, it's life changing. Like Bitcoin and crypto are life changing. And being on the right side of owning assets and riding up inflation is life changing. Like there's an old real estate influencer a while ago when I went down the real estate rabbit hole about he would talk about inflation induced debt reduction. Like a mortgage, guys, the mortgage doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's being inflated away. The dollars per month that you locked in, whether it was at 3% or 6%, it doesn't matter. Like that locked in payment is being inflated away because they're creating more and more dollars. And so it just becomes a cash flow game, which is why these Bitcoin income funds change everything. These Bitcoin income funds change everything. Because if you're already long Bitcoin as your savings instead of fiat dollars, the ROI of buying more upside on Bitcoin does go down. It does go down. At a certain point, the ROI of stacking more Bitcoin does go down because because there's uncertainty. There's uncertainty in the future. Like our future, our future is good. Our future is locked in. Like I actually don't need to think about my future, the future that much anymore. I need to think about the now. Like how do I make now awesome? How to make now awesome? And locking in $536 a month from BTCI that now I don't have to think about, that like changes. That's going to change the brain matter. That's physically changing brain matter. That's physically making it easier to show up for your toddlers. Like that's physically making it easier to show up on the phone for your friends. We hosted a fantasy football party and we just bought sandwiches for everyone. Like that doesn't it you can do things. Like you can just do things. There's not a constant like weighing of the options because you already made the right decision. Like you already made the right decision, and sitting on these Bitcoin income funds is now going to make it that much easier to like have both. You have the built-in growth upside and you now have consistent monthly passive income. It changes everything. It changes everything. And that's why this trend is going to continue to grow. And I think a lot of Bitcoin people are going to experience financial freedom. And I think a lot of so the dividend rabbit hole, the financial freedom rabbit hole, what I'm starting to see is when you look at channels that are dedicated to just dividend investing, what's happening is that the distributions that Bitcoin related funds are able to pay are huge compared to the other ones. Compared to an S&P 500 covered call fund, a Bitcoin distribution fund pays way higher. Pays way higher. And so what's starting to happen is like conservative, retired, dividend, financial freedom people of all ages are starting to peel in and parse in a little bit of Bitcoin dividend funds into their portfolios that they've stacked these, 20, 30 different income funds. And I'm coming at this from the opposite side. So that trend is not going to turn around either now because the juice from the Bitcoin funds is going to help their returns. And Bitcoin is now packaged in a familiar wrapper product that they're already familiar with. So it's not risky anymore. Or they're able to like right size the risk into their portfolios that they're already using. And what's interesting about this is coming out from my side. So like I've been thinking about kind of our financial picture as like a table, and right now we're like a three-legged stool, and I've been trying to turn us into a four-legged table. And the legs are our rental properties, our Southern California real estate, because I believe in Southern California real estate. Like Southern California is the greatest place in the world. No offense to wherever. I like people, tangent on this. I like when people are passionate about where they live. I don't super agree with like geographic arbitrage, especially in the United States. Like the difference between all the states and whatever is like it's actually not that much when you just love where you live. Like love where you live, grow deep roots and build a network and let your life begin to compound. I moved around a lot as a kid and like the compounding kept you always have to like restart and restart and restart. So don't do that in your adult life. Pick a place. Pick a place based on good decisions and go deep. Go deep and let the compounding happen. So, okay, so Southern California real estate is one leg of the table. Our Bitcoin savings is another leg of the table. Our ability to create income, so our actual jobs, our actual day to day of doing things out in the world and providing value, bringing in income. Fourth leg, I've been looking for a fourth leg. And I don't exactly count the Bitcoin ETFs themselves as a fourth leg. I count that as just like Bitcoin savings. So our Bitcoin savings is regular on-chain Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ETFs in the Roth IRA and the health savings accounts. Okay. I don't do a traditional IRA. Cashed out all traditional 401ks. Cashed out all traditional IRAs. Moved them all into Roths. So now once a year we would do a backdoor Roth contribution, but that's it because those accounts are good. Now it's filling the real estate bucket, the regular Bitcoin bucket, and I've been searching for this other bucket. And I think this other bucket, I think I've found it in the Bitcoin income funds. Because typical people would say like, "Oh, diversify or whatever." And I'm not bullish on any stocks. Like I'm not bullish on the S&P 500. I'm not bullish on Nasdaq. I'm not bullish on the Dow or whatever. So the index, like I'm not and the Mag 7, like I don't want to buy the Mag 7 stocks because I don't want the randomness of earnings. The randomness of the like quarterly earnings I just think is too random. Like I personally don't have an edge in picking that. And broadly, if I'm just going to buy the S&P 500 index, I don't understand why the S&P 500 index isn't better than just a Bitcoin ETF. Like I think the Bitcoin ETF that's because it's all tied back to dollars. It's all the same trade. Because every single company inside the S&P 500 is just dependent on the price of dollars. The number one driving force, like the number one largest domino for them about their earnings is just the price of dollars. Bitcoin is already the solution to that. And so the S&P 500 companies are going to have to swap out dollars for Bitcoin as the dollar continues to get debased. And as consumers have a hard time like keeping up with their prices, they're going to have to swap out for Bitcoin. Every single family should swap out dollars for Bitcoin, every single individual, every single company, country. So that's the reason why I'm not bullish on stocks broadly. Are they going to go up priced in Bitcoin? Yeah. But the Bitcoin ETF is going to go up faster than that index. So then that's where so that's the underlying asset, Bitcoin and real estate. Real estate was the old way to become a millionaire in the United States, the tried and true main way that the most amount of people become a millionaire in the United States. Through their primary residence, through the mortgage, United States mortgage. 30-year fixed rate. That was the primary way that people became a millionaire in the United States. The most amount of people. Bitcoin is the new way of that. So I don't know why I would buy the S&P 500 over a Bitcoin ETF. So the Bitcoin ETF becomes just the base thing. And then these covered call strategies on top of that give a different flavor of the Bitcoin ETF. So that's the fourth leg of the table. And it feels awesome. Like 2026 is setting up to be just a really awesome year. And I think people, even today, the number one thing you can learn to do is replace fiat money in your life. because it's all tied to the dollar. All of your diversified investments are all tied back to the dollar. So having a dialed in thesis of like, what do you actually believe about debasement? And I'm not saying about like, oh, the debt is too high. I'm not saying this isn't a vague like political statement. Like it's not this isn't the old world like complaining about the debt for some moral reason. Like it's not that. It's absolutely not that. I don't care about that. Don't care. Don't care about the national debt. I care about the concept that they're never going to stop printing dollars. The leadership of dollars is not good. Like they're in a tough spot. They're in a tough because of the debt or whatever, but we don't have to beat that to death anymore. That just is what it is. That's a fact. It's factual that the dollar is not in a good spot. And you don't have to be doomsday about that because we have better technology now, which is Bitcoin. And so learning how to do that, like learning to get comfortable with that, getting comfortable with that is the number one thing you can do. It'll make going to your job easier. It'll make showing up for your kids and your family easier. It'll make buying Christmas gifts easier. It'll make paying your mortgage easier. Every single financial decision will get easier when you stop having this like vague feeling that prices are going up and like the treadmill just continues and continues and continues, but you're not getting anywhere. And you just understand the solution is Bitcoin. Like fiat money, multiple countries right there. Fiat money, the people in charge of fiat money aren't great. They're not great for you as individuals, but the solution is Bitcoin. So learn how to use the new technology. There's tons of products out there. This is why I've released videos about Fidelity Crypto. Fidelity Crypto is the number one best mainstream Bitcoin account in the United States, period. Mainstream brand, trusted, anyone can open it. Great phone customer service every day of the week. Fidelity Crypto account. If you're like, oh, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, Fidelity Crypto account. If it's not available in your state, use a regular brokerage account, use the Fidelity Bitcoin ETF then. And it'll come to your state soon. Keep calling customer service until it's in your state. That's it. Like, that's it. Buying Bitcoin is still like the number one best tip of the spear thing anyone can do in the United States. Dial in your thesis about the debasement of the United States dollar. Find the place where you want to buy Bitcoin, continue to buy Bitcoin, and build the legs of your stool. If you're a young person, real estate is the second best. Other crypto is not the second best. Bitcoin is the first. Real estate's the second. House hack, lock in a flat monthly payment. Find roommates, make them rent the other rooms. Get your housing costs now to zero. Work your job. Flow all of your cash flow into Bitcoin. That's the playbook. That's the young 20s playbook. That's the young 20s playbook. The 35 to 55 playbook is fill up your Roths with the Bitcoin ETF. Sit on your low interest rate mortgage. Dial in your thesis about debasement of the US dollar versus Bitcoin.